Breaking news. The NFL season is almost here, and big decisions are about to shake up the Chargers roster. Cuts are due tomorrow, and that means dreams will be made or broken within hours. Stay tuned, because what I'm about to share might completely change how you see this team. Chargers fans, the countdown is nearly over. In less than 2 weeks, the regular season kicks off, and trust me, excitement is through the roof. But before that, something huge is happening. The final roster cuts. Tomorrow is decision day, and every single spot matters. Every year, we see surprises, veterans released, young stars stepping up, and even undrafted players making history. That's the kind of drama that makes this moment so intense. But before we dive into the latest updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss breaking NFL news. Now, let's move on to the new updates. This is it. My full prediction of the Chargers' 53-man roster. From camp battles to preseason standouts, everything we've watched comes down to this moment. Some names will shock you, some will fire you up, and others, well, let's just say not everyone's making it through. So buckle up, because this is the official Chargers' final 53-man roster prediction. Let's go position by position and see exactly who I believe will make the cut. Injuries are always the hidden factor when it comes to roster decisions. Some players might start the season on the PUP list, others could land on injured reserve, and a few are still battling to prove they're ready for week 1. All of this makes the final roster even harder to predict. But today, I'm planting my flag. This is how I believe things will play out. Let's start at the most important position, quarterback. Justin Herbert is locked in as QB1. That's the easy part. He's the face of this team, the leader, and the guy this entire offense is built around. But behind him, that's where things get interesting. I've got the Chargers keeping 2 quarterbacks, Herbert and Trey Lance. And yes, I know that might surprise some people, but Lance has brought energy, upside, and flashes of real potential that fans can't ignore. Could trades or cuts shake this up? Absolutely. But as of now, I see Lance as the solid QB2 for this roster. Now, what about QB3? That's where it gets tricky. Tyler Heinicke and DJU are both in the mix, and one of them might stick around as an emergency option. My gut says Heinicke has the better chance. Still, don't rule out a trade. There are QB-needy teams out there who could come calling. But let's move on, because there's another group that might just reshape how people see the Chargers this season, the running backs. I've got 4 backs making the roster. Of course, Amari Hampton is a lock. He's shown too much to leave off. But all eyes are on Najee Harris. There's been a lot of uncertainty about his health, but signs are pointing to him being ready for week 1. That's huge. Having Najee out there changes everything for this offense. Fantasy players might groan about the split carries, but Chargers fans, they're fired up. Between Harris and Hampton, this backfield suddenly has a new identity, power, balance, and serious depth. When Najee Harris is healthy, this Chargers backfield feels complete. But here's the twist. He might not actually be the feature back for long. I see Amari Hampton taking over as RB1 sooner rather than later. It reminds me of what we saw in Baltimore not too long ago. Gus Edwards started as the guy, but within weeks, J.K. Dobbins took the reins and never looked back. That same shift could be coming to LA. So here's how I see it shaking out. Najee Harris, Amari Hampton, Hassan Haskins, and Rocket Sanders make the roster. That means Kamani Vidal is the odd man out. And trust me, that wasn't an easy call. Vidal's pass protection and receiving ability make him valuable. But Rocket Sanders just has that raw power and upside you can't ignore. Between the two, I lean Sanders. Now, could that change? Absolutely. If the team values special teams more heavily, we might even see Haskins pushed out to keep both Vidal and Sanders. But Haskins is a reliable piece on those coverage units, and that might be what secures his spot. Sometimes it's not just about offense, it's about who helps win field position battles. Next up, fullback. No real surprises here. Scott Matlock is holding down that role, pulling double duty between fullback and defensive line. But keep an eye on Tucker Fisk. He flashed in preseason as a strong run blocker, and the coaching staff might like his versatility as a fullback tight end hybrid. If they want more flexibility, Fisk could sneak in. For now, though, I think Matlock keeps the job. Now let's talk about wide receiver, one of the most exciting groups on this roster. Honestly, I don't think this is a spot with a ton of mystery. The top six feel locked in, and I can't see anyone breaking through. My projection: Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, Trey Harris, Quinton Johnston, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Darius Davis. That's your six. Sure, there are names like Del Campbell who flashed in camp, or Luke Grimm, though his special teams mistakes set him back. But at the end of the day, the six I just listed are the foundation. This is the group the Chargers will ride into the season. What a difference a year makes. Last season, the wide receiver room felt thin, inconsistent, and at times frustrating to watch. But now, it's night and day. Suddenly, Justin Herbert has a group around him that can change the entire identity of this offense. Combine that with a stronger run game, and for the first time in a long time, the Chargers look balanced. Last year, the defense carried most of the storylines. This year, I truly believe it's the offense that will grab the spotlight. The identity is shifting, tougher in the trenches, more explosive on the outside, and finally, a unit with a clear plan. Now, let's talk about the tight ends, because this is where things get really interesting. There were some tough calls here. I considered names like Tucker Fisk and Steo Klotz, both of whom bring that hybrid value, part fullback, part tight end. And honestly, the Chargers could benefit from a player like that, someone in the mold of a Kyle Juszczyk or Patrick Ricard, a versatile piece who blocks, catches, and opens lanes for the run game. But in the end, here's the three I believe make the cut: Tyler Conklin, Will Dissly, and rookie Arandi Gadsden. Conklin was a huge signing, steady, reliable, and miles ahead of what this team had last year. Dissly, one of the very best blocking tight ends in the league, and his return should help solidify the run game. And then there's Gadsden, the wild card. If you saw his preseason touchdown, you know what I'm talking about. Speed, size, catch radius. He flashed everything in one play. Plays like that don't just happen by accident. That's the kind of upside the Chargers need to unlock. So while Conklin and Dissly bring the security, Gadsden could be the spark. If he develops quickly, he might become a real difference maker in this offense. And for a team looking to take the next step, that's exactly the kind of weapon you want. Now, let's shift to a position that has every Chargers fan on edge. Now let's talk about the offensive line, a position that, honestly, still raises some concern. The interior isn't where it needs to be, and that's something we all expected. The team's only real addition to the starting group was Mekhi Becton. And while that's a solid move, the center and left guard spots remain shaky. And then came the gut punch. Rashawn Slater out for the season before it even began. Losing your franchise left tackle that early, that's devastating. But here's the silver lining. Drafting Joe Alt last year looks like one of the smartest decisions this team has made in a long time. The moment Slater went down, Alt stepped in, and suddenly things didn't look quite as grim. Remember, left tackle was his natural spot at Notre Dame. He held his own at right tackle last year, but now that he's back where he belongs, he looks even more dominant. This could be the year Joe Alt takes that next big step. As for the rest of the starters, here's how I see it lining up. Joe Alt at left tackle, Zion Johnson at left guard, Bradley Bozeman at center, Mekhi Becton at right guard, and Trey Pipkins at right tackle. It's not perfect, but it's workable. Depth is always key, though, and the Chargers will carry 8 linemen. Jamari Salyer is the most valuable backup. He can swing between tackle and guard. Andre James provides cover on the inside, and Branson Taylor, who's been tested at both tackle and guard in the preseason, rounds out the group. That gives the Chargers versatility, if not overwhelming strength. The truth? The offensive line could definitely be better, but the talent in the backfield might mask some of those weaknesses. Strong runners can make an average line look decent, and that's exactly what Najee Harris and Amari Hampton can do. Now, let's flip to the other side of the ball. The defensive line has been a major focus this offseason, and it shows. I've got 5 players making the roster here. I considered going with 6, but decided to use that extra spot elsewhere, where it could make an even bigger impact. The interior defensive line has quietly become a much stronger unit than people expected. Leading the way is Tart, who looks ready to anchor this group. Behind him, Deshaun Hand has impressed all preseason. He's disruptive, physical, and tough to ignore. Add in Jamari Caldwell, Otito Ogbonnia, and Justin Eboib, and suddenly this group has depth. The toughest cut for me? Naquan Jones. He flashed at times, but when it came down to it, I saw more consistent impact from Hand, and that made the difference. If Jones sneaks onto the roster, it only makes this position deeper than most of us thought back in camp. For once, the defensive interior doesn't feel like a glaring weakness. It feels solid. Now, let's move outside to the edge rushers, and this is where things get really interesting. I'm going with 5 players here, which is one more than usual, but I believe it's worth it. Of course, Khalil Mack is the headliner, and Tuli Tuipulotu is right there with him after a strong rookie year. Bud Dupree adds veteran muscle. But here's the twist. Caleb Murphy has forced his way in. He was relentless in the preseason, piling up sacks and bringing pressure every time he stepped on the field. That kind of effort can't be ignored. Kyle Kennard, the rookie, still feels unproven and has battled through injuries, but he's worth developing. This group might not have the superstar shine of Mack and Bosa in their prime, but it's deep, versatile, and dangerous. And if the Chargers want their secondary to thrive again, it starts right here, with constant, disruptive pressure off the edge. Now to linebacker, and let me just say this. Daiyan Henley might not only be the best linebacker on this team, he could become one of the best in the entire league. His speed, instincts, tackling, and leadership stand out every time he's on the field. This feels like the season he earns league-wide recognition. Alongside him, I've got Denzel Perryman bringing toughness and veteran presence, rookie Junior Colson developing quickly, Troy Dye providing versatility, and Deshaun Hand filling an additional role. Altogether, this linebacker room has the right mix of youth, power, and experience. And now, we turn to cornerback, a position battle that's been one of the most heated of camp. This preseason gave us some huge performances, especially from guys like Nico Reed and Eric Rodgers. Rodgers is still a bit of a mystery, banged up, unsure when he'll return, but if he's healthy in a few weeks, he could definitely push his way back into the roster conversation. For now, I've got 6 cornerbacks making it. Tarhi Still, M. Hart, Dante Jackson, Benjamin St. Just, Jir Taylor, and Nico Reed. St. Just was a tough call, especially since Dean Leonard is a strong special teams player, but St. Just's size and speed give him the edge. Between those two, it really could have gone either way. As for Jir Taylor, some people might have expected him to be cut, but here's the thing. He's a fantastic gunner and tackler on special teams. Coverage hasn't been his strong point lately, but coaches know his value. And then there's Nico Reed. This guy had fans buzzing all preseason. His coverage was sharp, he tackled well, and that pick 6, pure playmaker energy. If he keeps this up, he'll be a real difference maker. Moving to safety, I broke it down into 2 categories. At free safety, it's Alohi Gilman and Elijah Molden, no surprises there. At strong safety, I've got Derwin James, Tony Jefferson, and R.J. Mickens. Jefferson gave us a little scare online with a cryptic post, but thankfully it was about the Padres, not roster cuts. He's too valuable not to keep around. That group gives the Chargers a solid 5 at safety, which is exactly what this defense needs to stay deep and flexible. And then there's special teams, Cameron Dicker at kicker, J.K. Scott at punter, and Josh Harris at long snapper. Simple, reliable, and finally, not a weak spot for the Chargers anymore. For years, special teams were a nightmare, but now with Dicker and a solid returner like Darius Davis, things feel stable. All in all, if I had to grade this roster, I'd say it's a strong B to B+. Depth at a few spots could be better, and the offensive line has some question marks. But improvements at running back and wide receiver should give this offense a major boost. Pair that with a defense that already proved how tough it can be, and this season has the potential to be something special. Chargers fans, buckle up. This could be a really fun year.